ಆತ್ಮೀಯ ಬಂಧುಗಳೇ, ಅಖಿಲ ಭಾರತ ವಕೀಲರ ಒಕ್ಕೂಟ ಐಲು ಕರ್ನಾಟಕ ರಾಜ್ಯ ಸಮಿತಿ ಪ್ರಸ್ತುತಪಡಿಸುತ್ತಿರುವ ಅಂತರ್ಜಾಲ ಉಪನ್ಯಾಸ ತರಬೇತಿ ಕಾರ್ಯಾಗಾರ, ಮುಖ್ಯವಾಗಿ APP ಮತ್ತು ಮುನ್ಸಿಪ್ ಪರೀಕ್ಷೆಯನ್ನು ತೆಗೆದುಕೊಂಡಿರ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥ ಎಲ್ಲ ವಕೀಲ ಬಂಧುಗಳಿಗೆ ಈ ಒಂದು ಕೋವಿಡ್-19 ಪ್ಯಾಂಡಮಿಕ್ನ ಭಾಗವಾಗಿ ಎಲ್ಲ ವಕೀಲರು ರಾಷ್ಟ್ರಾದ್ಯಂತ ಮತ್ತು ವಿಶೇಷವಾಗಿ ಕರ್ನಾಟಕ ರಾಜ್ಯದಲ್ಲಿ ನಾವೆಲ್ಲರೂ ಏನು ಕೆಲಸವಿಲ್ಲದೆ, ನ್ಯಾಯಾಲಯದ ಕಲಾಪಗಳಿಲ್ಲದೆ ಖಾಲಿ ಕೂತ್ಕೊಂಡಿರ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥ ಒಂದು ಸಂದರ್ಭದಲ್ಲಿ ಅಖಿಲ ಭಾರತ ವಕೀಲರ ಒಕ್ಕೂಟ ಈ ಒಂದು ಸುಸಂದರ್ಭವನ್ನು ಎಲ್ಲ ವಕೀಲ ಸಮುದಾಯಕ್ಕೆ ನಾವು ಒಂದು ಸಂದೇಶವನ್ನು ಕಳಿಸಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಸಾಧ್ಯ ಆಗಬೇಕು, ಈ ಸಮಯವನ್ನು ಸದುಪಯೋಗಪಡಿಸ್ಕೊಳ್ಳಿಕ್ಕೆ ಅನುಕೂಲ ಆಗಬೇಕು ಅನ್ನುವ ದೃಷ್ಟಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ನಾವು ಎಲ್ಲರಿಗೂ ಉಪನ್ಯಾಸವನ್ನು ನೀಡಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಈ ಒಂದು ಅಂತರ್ಜಾಲ ಉಪನ್ಯಾಸ ತರಬೇತಿ ಕಾರ್ಯಾಗಾರದ ಒಂದು ವೇದಿಕೆಯನ್ನು ಸಿದ್ಧಪಡಿಸಿಕೊಂಡು ಆ ಮೂಲಕ ಯುವ ವಕೀಲರಿಗೆ, ಪರೀಕ್ಷಾರ್ಥಿಗಳಿಗೆ ಹಾಗೂ ರಾಜ್ಯದ ಎಲ್ಲ ವಕೀಲ ಮಿತ್ರರಿಗೆ ಕಾನೂನಿನ ಅರಿವನ್ನು ಮೂಡಿಸುವಂಥದ್ದು, ಜ್ಞಾನವನ್ನು ಹೆಚ್ಚಿಸುವಂಥ ನಿಟ್ಟಿನಲ್ಲಿ ಈ ಒಂದು ವೇದಿಕೆಯ ಮೂಲಕ ಸಾಕಷ್ಟು ಉಪನ್ಯಾಸಗಳನ್ನು ಸಂಘಟಿಸ್ತಾ ಬಂದಿದ್ದೇವೆ. ಈ ಒಂದು ವೇದಿಕೆಯಿಂದ ಕಳೆದ ಮೇ 26ನೇ ತಾರೀಕಿನಿಂದ ಪ್ರಾರಂಭವಾದಂಥ ಉಪನ್ಯಾಸಗಳ ಕುರಿತು ಈಗಾಗಲೇ ಕರ್ನಾಟಕ ರಾಜ್ಯದ ಉಚ್ಚ ನ್ಯಾಯಾಲಯದ ಗೌರವಾನ್ವಿತ ಮುಖ್ಯ ನ್ಯಾಯಮೂರ್ತಿಗಳಿಂದ ಹಿಡಿದು ಎಲ್ಲ ಗೌರವಾನ್ವಿತ ನ್ಯಾಯಮೂರ್ತಿಗಳು ಹಾಗೂ ಜಿಲ್ಲೆಯ ಪ್ರಧಾನ ಜಿಲ್ಲಾ ವಸತಿ ನ್ಯಾಯಾಲಯದ ಗೌರವಾನ್ವಿತ ನ್ಯಾಯಾಧೀಶರು ಹಾಗೂ ಎಲ್ಲ ಹೆಚ್ಚುವರಿ ಜಿಲ್ಲಾ ಸತ್ರ ನ್ಯಾಯಾಧೀಶರು ಹಾಗೂ ಕಿರಿಯ ಮತ್ತು ಹಿರಿಯ ಶ್ರೇಣಿಯ ಎಲ್ಲ ಗೌರವಾನ್ವಿತ ನ್ಯಾಯಾಧೀಶರುಗಳು ಅಲ್ಲದೆ ಈ ಒಂದು ವೇದಿಕೆಯಲ್ಲಿ ನಮ್ಮ ಪರಿಣಿತ ಹಿರಿಯ ವಕೀಲರುಗಳು ಹಾಗೂ ಪರಿಣಿತ ತಜ್ಞರುಗಳು ಸಾಕಷ್ಟು ವಿಷಯಗಳಿಗೆ ಸಂಬಂಧಪಟ್ಟಂತೆ ತಮ್ಮ ಉಪನ್ಯಾಸವನ್ನು, ತಮ್ಮ ಅನುಭವದ ಅಮೃತವನ್ನು ಈ ಒಂದು ಉಪನ್ಯಾಸ ವೇದಿಕೆಯಲ್ಲಿ ನಿರಂತರವಾಗಿ 102 ದಿನಗಳ ಕಾಲ ನೀಡ್ತಾ ಬಂದಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಆ ಎಲ್ಲ ಗೌರವಾನ್ವಿತರ ಉಪನ್ಯಾಸದ ಒಂದು ಧ್ವನಿಯ ಸುರುಳಿಯನ್ನು, ವಿಡಿಯೋ ರೆಕಾರ್ಡಿಂಗನ್ನು ನಾವು ನಮ್ಮ ಐಲು ಕರ್ನಾಟಕ ಅನ್ನುವ ಯೂಟ್ಯೂಬ್ ಚಾನಲನ್ನು ಪ್ರಾರಂಭ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದೇವೆ. ಆ ಐಲು ಕರ್ನಾಟಕ ಯೂಟ್ಯೂಬ್ ಚಾನಲ್ನಲ್ಲಿ ನಿರಂತರವಾಗಿ ನಡೆದಂಥ 102 ದಿನಗಳ ವಿಡಿಯೋ ಚಿತ್ರೀಕರಣಗಳನ್ನು ಈ ಒಂದು ಯೂಟ್ಯೂಬ್ನಲ್ಲಿ ಅಪ್ಲೋಡ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದೇವೆ. ಸಾಕಷ್ಟು ವಿಷಯಗಳಿಗೆ ಸಂಬಂಧಪಟ್ಟಂಥ ಎಲ್ಲ ವಿಡಿಯೋಗಳು ಈ ಒಂದು ಐಲು ಕರ್ನಾಟಕ ಯೂಟ್ಯೂಬ್ನಲ್ಲಿ ಲಭ್ಯವಿದ್ದು ತಾವು ಅದನ್ನು ವೀಕ್ಷಿಸಿ ಅದರಿಂದ ಹೆಚ್ಚಿನ ಜ್ಞಾನವನ್ನು ಪಡೆದುಕೊಳ್ಳಕ್ಕೆ ಸಾಧ್ಯ ಆಗ್ತದೆ. ಈ ಒಂದು ಯೂಟ್ಯೂಬ್ನಲ್ಲಿ ಬಂದಿರತಕ್ಕಂಥ ವಿಡಿಯೋಗಳು ನಿಮಗೆ ಲೈಕ್ ಆದಲ್ಲಿ, ನಿಮಗೆ ಅದು ಮನಮುಟ್ಟುವ ರೀತಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ಇದ್ದಲ್ಲಿ, ನಿಮಗೆ ಅದು ಸಂತೃಪ್ತಿಯನ್ನು ನೀಡಿದಲ್ಲಿ ತಾವು ದಯವಿಟ್ಟು ಈ ಯೂಟ್ಯೂಬನ್ನು ಲೈಕ್ ಮಾಡಿ, ಶೇರ್ ಮಾಡಿ, ಹಾಗೆಯೇ ಸಬ್ಸ್ಕ್ರೈಬ್ ಆಗಿ. ಇನ್ನೂ ಸಾಕಷ್ಟು ಹೆಚ್ಚಿನ ವಿಷಯಗಳನ್ನು ತಾವು ಪಡೆದುಕೊಳ್ಳಕ್ಕೆ ಈ ಯೂಟ್ಯೂಬನ್ನು ಫಾಲೋ ಮಾಡಿ. ಧನ್ಯವಾದಗಳು. ನಮಸ್ಕಾರ.
Good evening to all students, advocates, judges and other audience online. Topic chosen for today is the Domestic Violence Act 2005. Before studying or starting to study the act, it is better and convenient for us to know about 4 words, 4 persons, 4 acts and behaviors, and 7 forms. 4 words, 4 important words which are necessary to know before going to discuss about the act are: one is the aggrieved person, second one is the respondent, third one is the domestic violence, fourth one is the shelter home or service provider. These are the important words under the act, including section 2 and 3. 3 nalli the word Domestic Violence Act is defined under section 3. Apart its explanation, words respondent, aggrieved person and domestic aggrieved person are defined under section 2. So these are the 4 important words, and the 4 acts means acts or behavior, act, omission or conduct, act, omission, commission or conduct. 4 persons are known as protection officer, service provider, medical facility and shelter home. These are the 4 important persons which come into picture while studying the Domestic Violence Act 2005. Then 7 forms means starts from domestic incident report. The second one is the complaint. Third one is the affidavit for temporary orders. Fourth one is the rights of the victim of the incident. Fifth one is safety provisions and plans. Later, the forms 6 and 7 comes regarding the registration of the service providers and service of notice service report, called as notice service report as required on section 13. After knowing these important words, acts and persons, it is better to know about the aims and object of the act. In the year 1994, Vienna Act, and in the declaration 1995 at Beijing, the parties to the said meeting were requested and directed to implement the prevention and prohibition of domestic violences by making the law in their own countries. Accordingly, the government of India has enacted, according to the said convention, the government of India has enacted the Act 2005 and brought into force in the year 2006, October 2006. It was a violation or domestic violence against the women. He was considered by all the parties to the United Nations that the violation of human rights. So, the government of India has enacted this act containing 37 sections. Act is divided in 5 parts. First part is preliminary. Second part is regarding domestic violence definition and explanation. Third part is duties and powers of the 4 persons already named in the last part of the discussion. Fourth part is regarding remedies available under the Act. Fifth chapter is the miscellaneous chapter. So, this is the background of the Domestic Violence Act. In order to know details about the Act, it is better to know what are the law implementing authorities, what kind of reliefs are available, what about the similar reliefs available under the Act, other laws, and what about the order granted under the Act, if not modified, not revoked, or not altered, and how the order can be implemented and executed, also enforced. What are the important words, so and so. So, section 1 is in respect of the short title and commencement of the Act. It is called as Domestic Violence Act 2005. Act applies to the whole of India except the Jammu and Kashmir. Section 2 is definition clause. 20 words are defined under section 2. Out of those 20 words, it is better to know only a few words as already stated. Remaining words will be referred to with the related provisions in future. Section 3 is in respect of definition of domestic violence and most important part of the enactment. We being the judges, advocates and law students, also the citizens of India, have come across many number of litigations which attract section 498A IPC. 498A IPC provides explanation regarding cruelty and harassment, explanation 1 and 2. Any willful conduct which is likely to drive the woman to commit suicide or to cause damage to the life, limb or health, both mentally or physically or both. Harassment with intent to coerce the woman or any person related to her to bring any property or valuable security, or due to her failure to bring, due to her failure or her relative's failure to bring property or valuable security to fulfill unlawful demand are called as harassment and cruelty under Section 498A IPC. Similar is the definition provided under Section 3 of the Act to the word domestic violence. If any person of the family causes harassment or cruelty to any woman of the family with intention to drive or force her to bring property or valuable security, or to bring dowry, or causes bodily injury, or causes any endanger to the life, limb, or health, mental or physical, is called as domestic violence. Any kind of torture or harassment to a woman by the members of the family, including the husband, are called as domestic violences. So, Section 4 to 11 are in respect of the appointment of a protection officer, duties and powers of the protection officer, shelter home, medical facility, etc., etc. Protection officer is one of the powerful person under the Act. His duties and powers starts from the date and time when he receives information about the domestic violence or domestic incident, not violence, domestic violence incident antanu karkobodu. So his powers and duties continues until and unless the order under the Act is altered or modified or revoked. So therefore, I call it that the protection officer is one of the important person under the Act. He will be appointed by the state governments. His qualifications are fixed under the rules. His terms and conditions of service will be fixed by the government. He has to act in accordance with the Section 8 and 9 of the Act, or the directions by the government, or directions by the magistrate. He is not only having duties and powers, he is also having liabilities, responsibilities. Failure of a protection officer to follow the directions of the magistrate or directions of the government or directions specially given to him to implement in writing amounts to an offense. And he is liable to be prosecuted and punished. Punishment is harsh. He may be imprisoned, any kind of imprisonment, simple or rigorous, for a period of 1 year, and fine up to ₹20,000 may be imposed upon him in case of his failure to discharge his duty intentionally. Not only responsibilities are casted upon the protection officer, but also immunity was given to him. Protections are there to the protection officer under the Act. He is protected from false and frivolous complaints. He cannot be prosecuted without prior sanction. So, these are the duties, responsibilities, and powers of the protection officer. Details of the duty, his duties as such, he is having duties and responsibility to receive the domestic incident reported to him by the aggrieved person or any other person on her behalf. If it is in writing, okay. If it is not in writing, he has to reduce the same in writing and obtain the signature of authorized person. He has to verify the identity of the person giving information. The person who gives information to the protection officer cannot be prosecuted either under civil proceedings or under criminal proceedings. immunity was given to the first informant or informant to the protection officer. After receipt of the information about the domestic violence, the protection officer has to make some kind of investigation and submit a report known as DI report. It should be under section in the prescribed form, that is form number 1 under the rules. After submission of the DI report, if the petitioner or aggrieved person desires so, the protection officer can move application to the magistrate under section 12 of the Act, or the petitioner herself can move, or any person on her behalf can move application before the magistrate for the reliefs available under the Act. As many as the 5 kinds of reliefs are available under the Act, which may be granted under section 18 to 22. 18 to 22, let us discuss them a little later. As far as possible, the application to the magistrate under section 12 should be in the form number 2. It is prescribed under the rules. So, it is the duty of the protection officer to prepare the affidavit as required in form number 3 for obtaining immediate reliefs available under section 23. Immediate, in other words, interim reliefs. It is also his duty to inform the aggrieved person that she is having a right to avail services of the shelter home, services of the medical facility, services of the service provider, services of the TLSA or TLSC or state authority, whichever is available, legal services authority. So he has to make a list and furnish to the aggrieved person regarding her rights. If the Act, rules and forms, all the 3 are read together, we can gather some more information about the Domestic Violence Act. So, even after filing application, the word used under section 12 is the application. Sometimes some of the litigants use the word complaint. It is not the complaint. Complaint is referred in the some other provisions of the Act. It is about the complaint against the respondent or any other person or the protection officer. So, application, the proceedings under section 12 will always be called as application and objections. After filing the application, the protection officer will be directed by the magistrate to submit his, firstly, before submitting report, the magistrate will consider the DI report, domestic violence report, submitted by the protection officer and direct the protection officer to serve the notice. There is a time limit given to dispose of the application and to fix the first date of hearing. Always the first date of hearing should be within 3 days from the date of presentation of the application under section 12. Minimum 2 days will be granted to the protection officer to serve the notice. Prescribed format is there to submit his report regarding service of the notice. That prescribed notice is in the form number 7. Thereafter, he will submit his report regarding service of said notice. After service of notice, if the protection officer is not able to serve the notice within 2 days or 3 days from the date of issuance, he may seek some more time for service of notice, and court or magistrate is having powers to grant time whenever it is necessary. After service of notice, if a report is submitted by the protection officer, the notice is deemed to be duly served. There is a presumption under the Act, unless the contrary is proved. Therefore, the respondent or any other persons cannot raise their voice without any substance regarding service of notice. After service of notice, the And from the date of first hearing, the magistrate has to conclude as far as possible. Shall conclude and there is no word used as the magistrate shall conclude, or no words are used in the act that the magistrate has no powers to dispose of the application after expiry of 60 days from the date of first hearing. So, magistrate has to conclude the inquiry and dispose of the application as far as within 60 days from the date of first hearing. This is the time limit given to the court for speedy disposal. For that purpose only, the presumption is made available regarding service of notice. After appearance of the respondent, the court means magistrate, has to hear the parties, consider the evidence made available to him, and pass necessary orders. The proceedings under the Act should be tried summarily, as per the provisions which govern the petitions under section 125 CRPC. If the magistrate is satisfied that the domestic violence was taken place or is likely to take place, may pass necessary orders. The aggrieved person may claim one or more reliefs available under the Act. Now, it is necessary what kind of reliefs are available to a aggrieved person under the Act. There are 5 reliefs. One is the protection order. Second one is the monetary order. Third one is the interim custody order. Fourth one is the damages. Fifth one is the residence order. These are the 5 kinds of facilities or orders or reliefs available to the aggrieved person. Aggrieved person may seek one or more relief under the Act. The Domestic Violence Act provisions are in addition to any other laws available to the aggrieved person for the reliefs of similar kind, because the maintenance order may be availed under section 125 CRPC or under personal law, Hindu law, it may be Hindu law or Muslim Mohammedan law or special law, etc., etc. Similarly, custody of child can be obtained. Order for custody of child can be obtained under the personal laws or general laws. Similarly, suit for damages can be filed apart the proceedings under the provisions of DV Act. So on. All the 5 kinds of reliefs available under the Act are also available under general laws or personal laws. Therefore, the reliefs available under the DV Act are in addition to and along with the reliefs available under any other law for the time being. Then, definition clause as such, respondent means husband or any person related, any adult male member of the person who was or is staying with the aggrieved person, respondent. The definition itself is very, very clear that always the respondent or respondents in the application under section 12 of the Act should be the male members. One thing. Second thing, shared household is the fourth important. Aggrieved person, respondent, shared household, domestic violence. Shared household means the house or building in which the aggrieved person was residing along with the respondent and or with other persons as a member of joint family due to consanguinity or marriage or relationship like marriage is called as shared household. The domestic violence incident will taken place only in respect of the person who was or is staying in the shared household, not in respect of any other person. Respondent, we have completed. Aggrieved person means she should be a woman in relationship with the respondent and was or is staying in a shared household is the aggrieved person. Domestic violence is already discussed. These are the important forward. If the magistrate is satisfied that the aggrieved person was harassed by the respondent and domestic violence was taken place or is likely to take place, may pass necessary orders for one or more reliefs made available under the Act. After passing the order, it should be implemented and executed. It should be implemented and executed. Executions as such, the protection officer, police, and court are the authorities to implement and execute the orders. If any order passed under the Act is not obeyed, or in other words, violated, the violation amounts to an offense, and the person who violates, he may be respondent or other person, is liable to be prosecuted, and such offense is a cognizable offense, non-bailable offense, summarily triable by the same magistrate or any other magistrate. As far as possible, it should be tried by the same magistrate who passed the domestic order under the DV Act. The offense as such, how it should be tried and how complaint should be lodged. Whenever a person violates the order passed by the magistrate under the Act, the aggrieved person has to report or may report same to the protection officer or to the police or to the court by way of complaints. After receipt of the complaint, the investigation or inquiry will be conducted. After conducting the inquiry or investigation, whichever is necessary, the accused, the respondent will turn as accused. Accused will be tried for the said offense. While trying the accused, the magistrate may frame charge for the said offense along with other offences, particularly for the offense under section 498A or any other offense under the IPC, if facts and circumstances disclose commission of offense and make out prima facie case. If any one of the offences which are forthcoming from the material on record are not triable summarily, the magistrate can split those charges and try the only offense punishable under the Act and conclude the trial. Similarly, if the protection officer fails to discharge his duties voluntarily, complaint may be lodged against him with prior approval or prior permission or sanction by the government, and he will be tried as if he is an accused or respondent accused. Similarly, similar provision is there. Same offense, same punishment, same kind of trial, summary trial, so and so. Then these are the 2 persons. Remaining 3 persons are there. Whenever the domestic violence takes place or likely to take place and reported to the protection officer, if necessary, or if aggrieved person requests the protection officer to provide shelter home, he has to provide the shelter home. If the aggrieved person sustained any injury, bodily injuries, the protection officer has to provide medical facility through the medical facility notified under the Act. After providing medical facility or shelter home facility, the protection officer has to report same to the police station concerned and to the magistrate. During the course of trial or inquiry under section 12, the magistrate can take the assistance of any experts, known as welfare experts, for the purpose of disposal of the case. The word used in the provision is may. Magistrate may take the assistance, may not. Similarly, during the course of inquiry of the application under section 12, the magistrate may direct the parties to undergo counseling through the counselors, notified counselors. If the parties are directed to undergo counseling, the matter should be adjourned not more than 60 days. Matter should be adjourned not more than 60 days, and next hearing date should be fixed 60 days or 50 days or 40 days, whatever it may be, based on the facts and circumstances of the case and necessity of the time. During the course of counseling, the counselor has to inform the respondent that he has no right to raise his voice to defend himself. The respondent has no right to defend himself during the course of counseling. The counselor has to make all efforts to settle the dispute to the satisfaction of the aggrieved person. Aggrieved person is the important person under the Act in all the proceedings. During the course of counseling, the counselor is expected to and empowered to obtain any undertaking or bonds in writing by the respondent regarding his activities and behaviors in future, more particularly in respect of the Domestic Violence Act. After counseling, the counselor has to submit report to the court or magistrate regarding settlement or non-settlement of the dispute. The powers and procedures of the counselor under the Act are similar to that of the mediators under the mediation rules. Similar. More powers are given to the counselor under the Act to obtain bonds and undertakings, etc., and submit reports. Under the mediation rules, the mediator has no role to appear before the court, either to submit the report or to obtain bonds from the parties, any one of the parties or both. In the mediation rules, mediator will be a person, neutral person. The counselor under the Act will be a person who is expected to settle the dispute according to the satisfaction of the aggrieved person and to prevent the violation of domestic violence in future. He is also expected to make some provisions for the safety of the aggrieved person in future. After receipt of the report from the counselor, the court will consider the same. If the matter is settled, the court will make the necessary inquiry. After satisfaction that the parties have entered into compromise with free will and consent without any force or fraud, the report will be accepted and matter will be disposed of by necessary orders. While conducting the proceedings under the provisions of the Act for disposal of the application under section 12, the magistrate may conduct the in-camera trials if the circumstances warrant or parties request, but there is no mandate that all the inquiries should be conducted under the Act in-camera proceedings. It is discretion given to the magistrate. even after domestic violence incident report, application for the reliefs available under the woman or the aggrieved person is having a right to reside in the shared household along with the respondent and other persons are in a particular part of the shared household. Passing the orders for any one of the reliefs, the magistrate has to furnish copies of the order free of cost to the parties to the proceedings, protection officer, and police station concerned. The order passed by the magistrate under the provisions of the Act will be in force unless and until it is modified or altered or revoked, either on the application of the aggrieved person or on the application of the respondent. Rule 12 clause 4 explains that even if the aggrieved person herself invites the respondent to her separate house or separate residence and respondent approaches her, later complaint is lodged, the respondent is not entitled to take a plea that he went there at the request of the aggrieved person. So the provisions of the Act make it clear that the order will be in force unless it is modified or altered or revoked based on the facts and circumstances of the case. Then, if the aggrieved person is having other remedies under the other laws, he can file application under the Act under Section 12 apart the proceedings under other laws, including civil suit, petition for custody of the child, or petition for maintenance, etc., etc. So. If the reliefs are granted in both the proceedings, then the relief granted under the provisions of DV Act should be set off if it is monetary relief. If it is monetary relief, it should be set off, and remaining amount, remainder if any, should be recovered in accordance with law. Last but not least, question arises, which magistrate will have powers to entertain the application and try the petition application. The magistrate having a jurisdiction over the place of ordinary place of residence of the aggrieved person, or temporary place of residence of the aggrieved person, or place where the aggrieved person is carrying business, or where the aggrieved person is doing her employment, are the 4 places. Similarly, the magistrate having jurisdiction over the place of residence of the respondent, or place of business of the respondent, or place of employment of the respondent, or the place where the cause of action arisen. These are the 7 plus 1, 8 places which attract the jurisdiction of the magistrate. Any orders passed under the Act are appealable. Party who is aggrieved by the orders passed under the Act by the magistrate may prefer appeal under Section 29 of the Act within 30 days from the date of service of such order. Already we have discussed that if the magistrate passes order under the Act, he has to furnish copies to the parties, protection officer, and police station concerned free of cost. So, while computing the period of 30 days for appeal, the latest date or last date, if the copy is furnished to the aggrieved person today and the respondent tomorrow, police station later, and protection officer later, the latest date among 2
aggrieved person and respondent needs to be considered for the purpose of limitation to prefer the appeal. Acts done or duties discharged or powers exercised by the protection officer under the act in good faith are not liable to be prosecuted in a civil or criminal proceedings. In order to implement and effectively implement the provisions of the Act itself provides a provision to the state government to convey in periodical meeting of the ministers of the health department, home department, social welfare department, child departments, etc., etc. And the government has to provide protocol to those ministers and ministries to conduct the meetings for implementation of the provisions of the Act. Similarly, the provision is made under the Act to sensitize the police officers and the judges from time to time regarding the provisions of the Act and their effective implementation. The protection officer will be appointed by the government, state government under the rules. The service providers, NGOs registered under the Companies Act or Societies Act or any other law for the time being may file application for their registration to the government of state government in form number 7 for registration. The service providers means who are voluntarily come forward to provide services to the aggrieved person, to provide medical facility or monetary financial benefits or legal aid, etc., etc. Shelter home, as such, the state government has to notify that so and so buildings and so offices and so authorities are the shelter home for the provisions of this act, so and so. Medical facility also should be notified by the state government from time to time. After all these notifications, the protection officer is duty bound to make a list of medical facilities, shelter homes and service providers available within the jurisdiction of said protection officer and within the jurisdiction of particular magistrate. He has to submit his report from time to time. He should also furnish a list of counselors available from the office of service providers, and he should furnish a revised list of counselors once in 3 months. Whenever the aggrieved person approaches the protection officer has to explain the rights of the aggrieved persons and all the facilities available under the Act, including the service providers, medical facilities, etc., etc. These are the important features of the Act. What I feel is that plain reading or plain explanation of any one of the provisions or all the provisions of the Act will not give any benefit for us. If we proceed to discuss, try to explain any difficulties, then we can get the real benefit. You can start to ask any questions under the in respect of the provisions, rules and forms of the Act. I will try my level best to explain to my satisfaction and your satisfaction.